What's up, friends? I hope you enjoy today's recap. Tell me what you'd like to see next in the comments. Deep underground, in the suffocating darkness of a cave, the rhythmic sound of a pickaxe echoes. It's a lonely, repetitive task in a place devoid of light. With a sharp crack, the pickaxe strikes the stone wall, sending shards of rock flying. The miner, a young boy with white hair named K, stops. His eyes fixate on the wall as glowing blue droplets begin to seep from the freshly broken stone. A wide, triumphant grin spreads across K's face as he lifts his goggles. After all this effort, he's finally found it. He exclaims with joy, holding up a glass bottle to catch the precious, glowing blue liquid. This is ink, a rare and valuable substance. K turns to his companion, a small, cat-like shadow creature perched on his shoulder. "Nero, thank you," he says, his smile full of gratitude. "Thanks to you, I found it." With Nero still on his shoulder, K looks toward the light at the cave's exit, clutching his precious bottle. He muses hopefully, "If I take this back, maybe this time the pioneering corps will finally accept me." Emerging from the darkness, K takes a moment to breathe, a sense of accomplishment washing over him. The view from outside the cave is stark. K stands in a bleak, colorless wasteland, gazing at a distant metropolis that glows with a brilliant, multicolored aura, the shining city. The scene shifts to inside the city, where a massive crowd cheers with wild enthusiasm as confetti rains down from the sky. It's a parade for the colorists, the heroes of the city. They march forward, each one glowing with their own distinct and vibrant color, hailed as saviors by the adoring public. In the crowd, citizens look on in awe. They admire the colorists' amazing, vibrant colors and praise their latest victory over a giant creature. To them, the colorists are heroes who truly deserve their title. The belief is unanimous: as long as the colorists are around, the radiant shining city will always be safe. But not all parts of this world are so bright. The scene transitions to the Shadow District, a place of grim, colorless buildings and somber, silhouetted figures. Here, in the muted tones of the district, a line of hopefuls stands before a recruitment building, their forms barely distinguishable from the shadows around them. A sign posted outside announces the C-Rank Pioneering Corps entrance exam. It promises a family-like atmosphere and the glory of pioneering the Black Lands, but contains a critical condition: anyone with color can apply. Suddenly, K is thrown violently to the ground. A voice shouts with disdain, "Get lost!" Looking up from the dirt, K sees two men looking down on him with contempt. One of them, a man with reddish-brown hair named Red, sneers, "How many times do I have to say it? This isn't a place for people like you." K pushes himself up, his face a mask of desperation and anger. "Why not? I even brought ink," he yells, holding up the bottle he worked so hard to get. "What's the problem then?" He shoves the bottle forward, his voice trembling with indignation. "I proved my qualification with this." Red's face contorts in annoyance as he points a finger at K. "Ugh, do I really have to spell it out for you?" he shouts, his patience gone. The world seems to fall silent as Red delivers the final, crushing verdict. "You're colorless." The word hangs in the air, and K freezes, his eyes wide with shock and disbelief. Red continues his lecture, explaining the harsh reality of their world. People are born with their roles already decided. Panels show the colorless relegated to manual labor, like mining. But sometimes, he sneers, idiots like you, who don't know their place, pop out of nowhere. Listen well, you damn colorless. As Red speaks, his hand begins to glow with a menacing red aura. He prepares to demonstrate the very power that separates him from K. He unleashes a wave of red energy, not to strike K, but as a demonstration. The force of the aura itself is enough to push K back, turning the verbal humiliation into a show of overwhelming power. Kneeling on the ground, still holding the bottle of ink, K looks up at the pioneers who loom over him. Red continues his lecture, "Pioneers, you see. Only those chosen, like us, can be one. Red declares, his hand glowing with red energy while his companions radiate their own colors, creating a spectacle of power that Kay can only watch. Red explains the grim reality of their profession. The weak can't survive in the Black Lands. He gestures to the world outside the city, where a permanent, shadowy storm churns. Everything is swallowed in black, you can't even see a step ahead. And in that oppressive darkness, he says, there are all sorts of dangerous, monstrous beings known only as creatures that hunt anything that moves. We risk our lives to explore the unknown and find resources and treasures. We stake our lives for humanity's future. Red proclaims, his speech accompanied by images of pioneers fighting, exploring, and being hailed as they stand over a defeated monster. You could say we're true heroes. Looking down from the top of the stairs, Red delivers his final judgment. So for someone colorless like you, that's absolutely impossible. If you're colorless, then act like it and stick to colorless work. With a final, cold threat, Red warns, if you annoy me again, you'll really die next time. He and his group turn and leave, the heavy doors closing behind them, leaving Kay alone in silence. Kay remains silent, his shoulders slumped in defeat. From inside his jacket, Nero peeks out, making a soft, worried sound. He forces a pained smile, trying to reassure his small friend. It's okay, Nero. There are still many places we can go. He adds with a sigh, I've gotten used to this anyway. But beneath the resignation, a fire still burns. Kay's expression hardens with resolve as he declares, I'll definitely become the greatest colorist ever. I promised. He gently tucks Nero back into the safety of his jacket. Alright, back inside, he whispers, what if someone sees you? With his determination renewed, Kay turns to leave, ready to find another path. Okay then, shall we try somewhere else? As Kay walks away, hoping there's a place that will take him, he's unaware that he's being watched. From the shadows, a sinister-looking man with green hair peers through a grate, his eyes fixed on Kay. Kay wanders through the streets of the Shadow District, consulting a small notebook as he looks for another opportunity. He crosses out another entry in his book. It's a long list of places, all of them ending in failure. Not here either, or here. He closes the book with a heavy sigh, sweat beading on his forehead. Another miss today. Guess it can't be helped. Resigned for the day, he turns towards a small, familiar-looking building, Mari Workshop. Pushing open the door, Kay calls out to the person inside. Mari, I'm back. A cheerful girl with white hair and goggles, Mari, spins around with a bright smile. Kay. Welcome back, she exclaims, her voice full of warmth. Her smile fades slightly as she sees his expression. What's with that face? Failed again, she asks. Kay glumly confirms her suspicion. As he does, Nero happily leaps from his shoulder onto Mari's desk. Mari scoops up Nero, frustrated on Kay's behalf. People just don't know talent when they see it. You're probably stronger than most pioneers. But Kay just sighs, what can I do if no one accepts colorless folks? Still, you managed to bring back things from the Black Lands just fine, Mari argues, her words conjuring an image of Kay skillfully navigating the treacherous, monster-filled lands. Your skills are more than proven. Kay deflects the compliment, giving credit where it's due. Well, it's only possible because Nero helps me. Mari cuddles the small creature, who seems to enjoy the attention. Changing the subject to business, Kay presents the bottle he retrieved from the cave. Anyway, can you buy this off me? Mari's eyes immediately light up with excitement. Wow! Thanks, I'll pay you well for it. As she pours the precious ink into her equipment, Mari lets out a huge sigh of relief. Phew, seriously, I was running short on ink lately, it's been rough. She explains that with prices skyrocketing from the shortage, the public is demanding they increase the number of pioneers. Mari gestures to her equipment, where vials of blue and orange ink are being processed. Our whole livelihood depends on ink after all, she states, highlighting its importance. Kay leans on the table, dejected. I'm willing to work hard at anything, but no core will take me in. Mari then asks, Kay, did you think about what I told you before? Kay looks away, hesitant. I don't know. That place seems a bit. But Mari quickly cuts him off, leaning forward impatiently. What are you talking about? She slams a flyer down on the table with emphasis. You have to try everything, she insists. It's a recruitment flyer for the prestigious S-rank Dawn Pioneering Corps. Most importantly, it reads, entrance test open to all applicants. Skill-based selection. For Kay, this is a beacon of hope. You never know the results. This could be your chance. Mari exclaims. Kay stares at the flyer, his mind racing. The S-rank Corps, he'd always assumed it was out of his reach and never dared to apply. But a skill-based selection? He wonders, could his skills really be recognized there? Mari smiles, encouraging him. Kay, it's a great opportunity. Give it a shot. They said it's based on skill, you might finally get acknowledged. She looks him in the eye, reminding him of his deepest desire. You want to be a colorist, right? You've been saying that since we were kids. The scene flashes back to the past, showing a small, lonely Kay in tattered clothes, standing in the rain while clutching a tiny Nero to his chest. Returning to the present, Kay is struck by the memory and Mari's unwavering faith. Her past words echo in his mind, "We'll always support you, no matter what you do." A small, determined smile forms on his face. Yeah. I can't afford to hesitate anymore. He decisively picks up the flyer for the Dawn Pioneering Corps. With Nero back on his shoulder and the flyer in hand, a re-energized Kay waves goodbye. Thanks, Mari. I'll come by again. Mari sees him off with a cheerful, okay, take care. Clutching the application, Kay walks through the bleak alleys of the Shadow District, a newfound sense of purpose guiding his steps. He rereads the flyer, muttering to himself, not much time left. I'd better prepare a lot. Suddenly, a low growl comes from inside his jacket. Kay stops, startled by the sound. Huh? Nero? He asks, looking down as his companion trembles with agitation. Nero's warning comes too late. Kay senses danger and turns just as the green-haired pioneer from before steps out of the shadows, holding a wand that glows with a faint green light. The pioneer's face is twisted in a malicious grin, his eyes hidden in shadow. He raises his wand, and the green light intensifies, crackling with energy. Without a word, he swings the wand, unleashing a deadly, crescent-shaped blade of green energy that slices through the air directly towards Kay. Kay's eyes widen in sheer panic as he turns to face the unexpected, lethal attack. Though he reacts, he isn't fast enough. The energy blade slams into his side, and he cries out in agony as the force throws him to the ground. As Kay struggles on the pavement, the green-haired pioneer and his blue-haired accomplice appear. The attacker taunts him, "Oh, you actually dodged that, Colorless? Lucky hit, huh? Doesn't matter, you'll be dead soon anyway." The pioneer looks down at the wounded Kay with utter indifference. Nobody cares if one Colorless dies. Beside Kay, Nero lets out a series of desperate, high-pitched cries. Hearing his friend's terrified cries, Kay forces his head up, his focus shifting entirely to Nero's safety. His eyes narrow, and with what little strength he has left, he gives a desperate command to his only family, run. The reason for the ambush becomes chillingly clear. The alley they are in has a sign pointing to a dark opening between the pipes, a disposal site for hazardous ink waste. Kay groans, his vision blurry as he tries to push himself up from the ground, disoriented from the attack. A smug voice cuts through the haze. "Oh, you're awake?" The green-haired pioneer looks down at him with a grin. Suddenly, Kay finds himself lifted by the collar and held over the edge of a massive, dark pit. "Unlucky for you, you'll be thrown in there alive," the pioneer sneers. The pioneer explains the horrific nature of the pit below. It's a disposal site where all kinds of inks mix together to create a substance known as ink waste. He elaborates that it's deadly to humans, a corrosive sludge that will dissolve a body until not even bones remain. "Perfect for disposing of corpses, huh?" he asks mockingly. Kay, gritting his teeth through the pain, demands, "Ugh, who the hell are you? Why did you attack me?" Kay shouts. The pioneer's smile only widens, a cruel and unsettling sight. We were shocked too, you know," the pioneer says, flashing back to when he was secretly watching Kay leave Mari's workshop. "Didn't expect to find such a treasure in the Shadow District." His eyes gleam with greed as he reveals his true target, a creature with the intelligence to follow a human. "That's a real rarity," the pioneer says. At that moment, his blue-haired accomplice steps forward, holding a small metal cage. Inside is a terrified Nero. "Nero!" Kay screams, his heart sinking as he sees his small friend trapped and crying. A surge of protective rage gives Kay a burst of strength. He grabs the pioneer's collar, roaring, "Let go of him, you bastard." The pioneer just scoffs, "Oh, scary." A colorless yelling isn't scary, it's pathetic. The pioneer's eyes glint as he spells out his greedy motive. That creature could fetch a huge sum on the black market. He tightens his grip on Kay's jacket, sneering, "It's too good for a colorless like you to have, anyway." Kay can only groan as the man's knuckles dig into him. As he dangles helplessly, Kay curses himself. "Damn it, I was too careless. I shouldn't have let my guard down in the Shadow District." He thinks of all the discrimination and insults he has endured his whole life, just like when he was a helpless child. But to lose Nero, my only family, over something like this? The thought is unbearable. A surge of pure fury erupts within him. He grabs his captor's arm with newfound strength and screams, "Don't mess with me." As Kay's hand clamps down, something strange happens. A dark, shadowy substance begins to spread from his fingers across the pioneer's arm. The pioneer's smug expression instantly turns to one of shock and confusion. What? It feels like something's being sucked out, he cries out in alarm. As he speaks, the green energy of his color is visibly drawn from his body and absorbed by Kay, whose form is now obscured by a black aura, only his glowing white eyes visible. "Shit! What a disgusting feeling," the pioneer screams, violently shoving Kay away. The force sends them both stumbling backwards. The blue-haired accomplice, tired of the situation, decides to end it. "That's it, what a waste of time." With a flick of his wrist, he tosses Nero's cage into the churning ink waste. As it splashes into the pit, he callously remarks, "All cleaned up now." While the two pioneers celebrate their anticipated riches, Nero cries out in terror, plunging towards the corrosive liquid below. Seeing his only friend fall, Kay doesn't hesitate for a second. He throws himself over the edge, diving headfirst into the abyss after Nero. As he plummets into the black void, a single thought consumes him: "I have to save Nero." But the shock and his injuries are too much. "My body won't move." His consciousness begins to fade. His life flashes before his eyes, his vow to become a great colorist, Mari's encouraging smile. He thinks with despair, "Am I really going to end like this?" The memory of himself as a lonely, powerless child surfaces again. Is this all he will ever be? But deep within the despair, a flicker of defiance remains. "No. I still..." His consciousness fades, but a single, defiant thought remains, echoing in the void. "I still have that promise." Then, a voice, ancient and powerful, cuts through the darkness, calling his name. K. The voice questions his despair. Why are you just standing there? Why are you not doing anything? K can only weakly ask, who are you? The voice responds with a single, thunderous command, accept it. A torrent of commands floods his mind, urging him to fight back. Do what you can. Save Nero. Take it all in. I've waited for so long. Accept it. Your true color. As K's eyes snap open, now hollow voids burning with white light, the voice gives its final order, right now. Your color. Take it back. In the physical world, the surface of the ink waste churns violently. A whirlpool of blackness forms, and from its center, a hand emerges. An immense pillar of pure black, shadowy energy erupts from the pit, surging towards the sky. K finds himself in a white, empty void. He looks at his hands, now formed of black shadow. What is this, he wonders. What's happening? I was inside the ink. He tries to remember, but his memory is a blur. A more pressing question surfaces, echoing in the emptiness. No, more importantly. Who am I? A faint, desperate cry pierces the silence of his mind, it's Nero. The sound grounds him, a familiar anchor in the confusing void. Suddenly, a vision appears before him, the two pioneers, his tormentors, standing on the ledge above. The vision sharpens, focusing on Nero, crying in his cage. The memory, the name, returns to him with absolute clarity. Nero. You're here. The confusion vanishes, replaced by a singular, burning purpose. That's right. I have to save Nero. His new, shadowy hand reaches out, ready to act. Back in the alley, the two pioneers stare in disbelief as a massive pillar of black smoke and energy erupts from the pit where the ink waste used to be. They are paralyzed with fear, their faces pale with shock. What is that? They scream in unison. The pioneer stares at the bottom of the now empty basin. The entire pit of deadly ink waste vanished in the blink of an eye. And in its place, something unknown emerged. A humanoid silhouette composed of pure blackness and swirling smoke begins to rise. The green-haired pioneer trembles, his mind refusing to accept what he's seeing. No way. This can't be. He stammers in pure terror as the shadowy figure raises a monstrous, claw-like hand towards them. A creature? There is a scene of utter devastation. Buildings have crumbled into mountains of rubble under a dark, ominous sky, indicating a recent and powerful attack. An elderly witness, his face pale and contorted with fear, shouts to the authorities. He claims he saw the event unfold with his own two eyes, his voice trembling with shock. He frantically explains to a uniformed officer that a surprisingly small hand was the cause of the chaos. The officer diligently takes notes, trying to make sense of the panicked testimony. The old man continues, exclaiming that the small hand managed to turn the entire area into a complete wreck, as a flashback panel shows a dark, shadowy claw erupting from the ground. Meanwhile, a victim is carried away on a stretcher. His body is completely drained of color, appearing as a gray, lifeless statue. In the background, the witness continues to cause a scene while another person complains about how the victim is being handled. Two special investigators, a man with striking red hair and a woman with blue hair, observe the scene. They note that the only two affected were a pair of B-rank pioneers who didn't have the best reputation. The blue-haired woman, a colorist, expresses her confusion. She can't comprehend what could have possibly caused the victims to lose all their color. Her red-haired partner tells her to set that mystery aside for the moment. The red-haired man, known as Red, clarifies their mission. They were dispatched to this location specifically because of the large creature that suddenly appeared in the city. The on-site supervisor is stunned into silence. He recognizes the investigators, letting out a choked gasp as he identifies them as the elite colorists. The supervisor quickly composes himself and greets them with utmost respect, honored by their presence. Red dismisses the formalities, stating he was simply asked to investigate the creature. Red then asks the flustered supervisor for a tour of the site. The supervisor, eager to please the high-ranking colorist, immediately agrees and gestures for them to follow. The two colorists walk through the vast field of debris, their distinct red and blue colors standing out against the monochrome destruction as they begin their investigation. Red examines a black, ink-like substance on his fingers. He confirms that there are indeed traces of the creature left at the scene, which might provide them with a lead. His partner elaborates on the situation. They have been tracking all large creatures, and for one to appear suddenly inside the city, even on the outskirts, is highly unusual and alarming. She explains that the creatures typically seen within city limits are small, harmless species, like the shadowy rats and birds depicted in the panels. Looking down into a massive crater, they ponder the terrifying possibility that this might be a new, unknown variant of creature. However, Red advises against jumping to conclusions just yet. Red's expression turns serious. The more pressing issue is figuring out how to track this elusive and clearly dangerous new entity. Standing amidst the apocalyptic ruins, the two investigators are dwarfed by the sheer scale of the destruction. Red grimly admits that this situation is indeed troublesome. The scene shifts to a dark, unknown space. A pained groan is heard, and the protagonist, K, is seen huddled on the ground, clearly in distress, as strange squeaking sounds echo around him. A small, cat-like black creature with large, white eyes appears out of the darkness and begins licking his face. K groggily opens his eyes and whispers the creature's name, Nero. K jolts upright, grabbing his companion in a tight embrace. He's overwhelmed with relief to see that Nero, his cherished friend, is safe and sound. After his relief subsides, K's expression darkens. He wonders what happened, his thoughts immediately turning to anger as he blames those bastards for his current predicament. A torrent of fragmented memories flashes through his mind, being confronted, falling into a void, being surrounded by a dark, inky substance, and ultimately being consumed by it. As the fragmented memories connect, his eye snaps open, wide with a dawning, terrifying realization. His horrified gaze falls to his own hands. The witness's words about a small hand echo in his mind, and a dreadful possibility begins to take root. His mind goes blank, a chilling sensation washing over him as he tries to grapple with the horrific possibility. He touches his head, confused and disoriented. His eyes are wide with disbelief. How could it be possible? How could he, a powerless, colorless, be responsible for such immense destruction? Breaking from his spiraling thoughts, he suddenly becomes aware of his surroundings. He's trapped in an oppressive, pitch-black darkness where he can't see a thing. Panic begins to set in. He stumbles in the void, desperately calling out for his only companion, Nero, to help him. In response to his call, Nero transforms into a swirling vortex of energy, preparing to illuminate the darkness. The energy coalesces, and Nero emerges as a beacon of bright, white light in the shape of a cat, pushing back the shadows. As Nero's light floods the area, a terrifying sight is revealed. K is standing alone in a dark forest, surrounded by countless pairs of glowing eyes belonging to monstrous shadow creatures lurking in the gloom. K's face contorts in pure terror as he finally comprehends the danger he is in. He is trapped and surrounded by hostile beings. A horrifying realization dawns on him as he recognizes the desolate landscape. He's been transported to the dreaded Black Lands. He identifies his specific location as the Black Forest area, a treacherous zone that is supposed to be accessible only to high-ranking B-rank pioneers and above, making his presence there impossible. As if on cue, the shadow creatures begin to stir, their glowing eyes locking onto him. The horde of monsters starts swarming towards him and Nero. With no time to waste, K shouts to Nero, and the two of them make a desperate dash to escape the encroaching swarm, running deeper into the menacing forest. As they flee, Nero suddenly lets out a sharp cry, sensing a new danger approaching from ahead. A vicious, worm-like creature with a massive, tooth-filled maw lunges at them from the shadows, forcing Kay to react instantly to avoid the deadly attack. Having narrowly dodged the attack, Kay thanks his companion. Nero responds with a determined cry, ready for the next threat. Nero cries out urgently, urging Kay to climb faster as a massive, monstrous head appears from below, intent on devouring them. Nero shoots forward like a comet of light, leading Kay through the treacherous terrain and away from the pursuing monsters. As he runs for his life, Kay notices something strange. A new sensation is spreading through his body, something he has never felt before. He realizes with a shock that his body feels amazing. A core of dark energy swirls within his chest, the source of this newfound vitality. Despite the desperate escape and constant running, he isn't tired at all. His stamina feels limitless. Not only that, but he can move faster and with more agility than he ever thought possible, leaping effortlessly through the dangerous environment. He feels a powerful energy overflowing from within, suffusing his entire body with strength he's never known. Nero continues to fly ahead at high speed, guiding Kay through the perilous black lands. Just as Kay marvels at his newfound energy, his escape is abruptly cut short. A huge, wolf-like shadow beast erupts from the darkness directly in his path, letting out a ferocious cry. The sudden ambush catches him completely off balance. His brief moment of empowerment vanishes as he loses his stance mid-air, leaving him utterly defenseless as the monster closes in for the kill. As the creature lunges, time seems to slow down. Kay closes his eyes, his mind filled with a single, resigned thought, "Damn it. I'm going to die." The wolf-like creature clamps its massive jaws around Kay's shoulder. However, instead of tearing through him, its teeth shatter on impact. The monster looks down in confusion, its attack having failed completely. Kay looks just as shocked, staring at the creature in disbelief. The beast recoils with a whimper, while Kay stands perfectly still, untouched by the attack. He looks down at his shoulder, then at his hands, completely bewildered. He's fine, without a single scratch on him. He was certain that he had just taken a fatal hit. Yet, he is completely unharmed. The newfound energy he felt earlier seems to have protected him. His eyes widen as a profound realization hits him. The incredible speed, the limitless stamina, the invulnerability, this is the power of color. Nero flies up to him, letting out an affirmative cry, as if confirming Kay's astonishing discovery. But their moment of revelation is cut short. In the distance, an even greater threat emerges from the shadows, a colossal, horned figure. The behemoth rises to its full, terrifying height, its single glowing eye fixed on them. It's a cyclops, a monster that dwarfs everything else in the forest. Kay's face turns pale with absolute terror as he screams the name of the legendary monster. He can't believe it. A predator of this level, a true boss of the Black Forest, shouldn't be in this area. The cyclops lets out a deafening roar. The cyclops raises its massive fist and smashes it into the ground, the impact shattering the earth and sending shockwaves in every direction. Nero cries out in alarm, stunned by the creature's overwhelming power. Kay is thrown to the ground by the force of the attack, completely winded. Nero circles above him, crying out in concern. But as he lies on the ground, a strange feeling washes over him. Defiance. A manic grin spreads across his face as a wild thought enters his mind, "I feel like I can win." Images of his past flash before his eyes, a lifetime of being scorned and rejected for being colorless. But now, he has finally obtained the very power he has always longed for. He smirks, convinced that from now on, things will be different. He clenches his fist, a dark, shadowy aura beginning to swirl around it. He doesn't need to run anymore. It's time to fight back. He begins to remember. The feeling of his power awakening, his hand reaching out, and the dark energy washing over the two pioneers who had thrown him into the abyss. He focuses his mind, calling upon that sensation, that incredible feeling of power he experienced back then. The dark energy erupts around him, shrouding him in shadow. His form becomes a black silhouette, and his eyes begin to glow with a blinding white light. The Cyclops, sensing the shift in power, lets out a furious roar and charges forward to crush the defiant human. K stands his ground, a small but potent silhouette of darkness glowing with power, ready to face the mountain-sized monster barreling towards him. He plants his foot firmly on the ground, creating a shockwave of his own, and draws back his fist. All of his newfound rage, hope, and power are channeled into this single, decisive point. Unleashing everything he has, K shoots forward like a cannonball, his body a swirling vortex of dark energy as he throws a punch aimed squarely at the heart of the giant beast. The punch connects with the force of a meteor strike. A brilliant explosion of white light erupts from the point of impact, tearing through the dark forest and obliterating everything in its path. In the aftermath of the devastating blow, K floats in the air, his silhouette outlined against the blast. The colossal Cyclops has been completely annihilated, its shadowy form shattered into fragments. His eyes, now glowing with an intense, steady light, gaze upon the destruction he has caused, filled with a power he is only just beginning to understand. For a brief moment, a rainbow of colors flickers within his glowing pupils, a hint at the true, vibrant nature of the power he now wields. As his feet touch the ground, a miraculous transformation begins. The bleak, colorless world of the Black Land starts to change around him in response to his power. K watches in stunned silence as the dead forest bursts into life, becoming a lush, vibrant paradise with a sparkling waterfall. He stares in awe, wondering if this beautiful, vivid world is the color he has craved his entire life. However, the paradise is fleeting. The dark energy rapidly recedes from his body, and K reverts to his original form. His black hair turns white, and his eyes widen in shock as the power leaves him. He looks at his now powerless hands, completely bewildered. The immense power he just felt is gone as quickly as it came. As his power vanishes, so does the colorful world. The lush forest dissolves back into the desolate, gray landscape of the Black Lands, and K screams in despair at the loss. Where the Cyclops was defeated, a brilliant beam of light shoots down from the dark sky, marking the spot of its demise. K collapses to his knees, utterly exhausted and drained. The single punch took everything he had. Nero floats down to his side, crying out with concern. He mourns the loss of his beautiful color. The last wisps of dark energy dissipate from his body, leaving him weak and vulnerable once more. Just as despair begins to set in, a sinister, disembodied voice whispers in his mind. It tells him that the prey, the remains of the Cyclops, is right in front of him, and he must eat it quickly. The voice continues its dark counsel, a simple and tempting offer of survival. You don't want to die, right? It's simple. Reach out your hand. Panting, desperate, and on the verge of collapse, K struggles with the horrific proposition. The voice urges him again, your hand. His will to survive overrides his hesitation. With a faint glow returning to his eyes, he slowly reaches out his trembling hand towards the monster's remains. He places his hand on the shadowy corpse of the Cyclops. Immediately, the dark matter surges towards him, flowing up his arm and being absorbed into his body. Nero watches with wide, worried eyes, letting out a small whimper as he witnesses K consuming the monstrous creature. Two large streams of the Cyclops' essence are pulled from its remains and flow directly into K, replenishing his spent energy. The process ends, and K slumps on the ground, exhausted but stable. He looks up at the bleak sky, a sense of relief washing over him. Phew. I'm going to survive. But the dark act he just committed leaves a lingering question about the true cost of that survival. The scene opens on a building with a large sign that reads, Mari Workshop. Inside, a woman with long white hair is focused on her work when the sound of a bell alerts her to a visitor. A mysterious figure, completely hidden by a dark, ragged cloak, stands silhouetted in the doorway. The woman welcomes the guest. With a friendly smile, she asks the visitor, "What brings you here today?" The cloaked figure remains silent and unmoving. Sensing a different kind of purpose, she then asks if they have a special request. Ignoring her questions, the large, cloaked figure walks straight past her, leaving her utterly confused. She turns to him, unnerved, and says, Sir. Don't you realize you look extremely suspicious right now?" As the figure continues to approach, her fear turns to aggression. She brandishes a large wrench, threatening him to stay back or she'll blow him away. The figure suddenly lunges towards her, and she lets out a terrified scream. But instead of attacking, the figure pulls down his hood, revealing a young man with black hair and a tired smile. "Calm down, Mari, seriously," he says. With a gentle expression, he reveals his identity, simply stating, "It's me." Mari is completely baffled, unable to recognize the person in front of her. She stammers, "Sorry, I barely recognized." Suddenly, realization dawns on her. Her eyes widen in shock as she finally recognizes him, shouting, "You." Her shock turns into a furious question as she yells, "What happened to your appearance?" Mari starts trembling, her hands shaking not from fear, but from rising anger. Her rage explodes. Wielding both a hammer and a wrench, she screams in fury, "I'm so pissed. I won't forgive those bastards." Kay steps in to calm the enraged Mari, telling her it's fine and that she's already gotten her revenge. Beside them, a small, cat-like creature looks on. Kay gently places the wrench down, admitting he was worried since they had lost contact and never imagined something like this had happened to her. The tension finally breaks. Kay smiles, genuinely glad that she's safe. Mari, looking relieved, apologizes for making him worry. A thought bubble reveals the unbelievable story, surviving a fall into ink waste and even gaining color as a result. Mari voices her concern. Since black is the color of creatures, she worries people will see him in a bad light. But Kay is unfazed, saying what matters is that he got the chance to become a colorist. With newfound determination, Kay announces his plan. He'll head straight to the Pioneering Corps entrance exam, thanking Mari for ensuring he returned on time. He then meekly asks if he could borrow some clothes or spare gear, promising to return it. Mari looks on, completely exasperated by his recurring habit. Despite her feigned annoyance, Mari's expression softens into a bright smile. "Still," she exclaims, deciding to consider it an investment in a future colorist. Full of energy, she firmly grabs his hand and declares, "Follow me," pulling him along to get him prepared. Leading Kay by the hand, Mari says with a bright smile, "I happen to have the right items for you." She winks, confidently telling a slightly bewildered Kay, "They'll fit you perfectly." The scene shifts to a massive, Colosseum-like structure, as crowds of people make their way up the steps. Inside, a huge arena is filled with hundreds, if not thousands, of aspiring candidates, all gathered for the exam. Among the crowd, candidates talk nervously. One comments on how nerve-wracking the sheer number of people is, while another tells his friend to just stay alert. Two other candidates reflect on their long journey, amazed they've actually made it to the entrance test for the Dawn Pioneering Corps, a dream for every pioneer. The narration explains that this S-rank corps has the most achievements in the Black Lands and boasts multiple skilled colorists, earning them the title, the Hope of Shining City. A candidate notes the biggest problem: a huge number of very strong candidates have all gathered in one place for this exam. The crowd chatter points out some of the famous faces among them, including a famous bounty hunter who is also the second daughter of a traditional color family. They also spot other recently rising, well-known pioneers in the mix, highlighting the intense level of competition. However, one candidate is getting the most attention from the crowd. He is identified as Gale Sword Gale, a powerful-looking man with green hair who is considered a guaranteed pass. His reputation precedes him. He's said to be strong enough to single-handedly take on rampaging creatures. But his strength comes with a dark side. A flashback shows his cruel and violent nature, which reportedly got him kicked out of his previous corps. One overconfident candidate boasts that people like Gale are nothing special. His friends nervously dismiss his foolish comment. Another one challenges him to say that to Gale's face, but the group just laughs nervously as Gale looks over. Gale looks out at the sea of candidates with a bored, disappointed expression, unimpressed with the level of competition. Scanning the crowd, he mentally dismisses them all, thinking to himself that there isn't a single standout. However, his eyes land on one person who catches his interest. Well, at least, maybe that girl, he thinks. Meanwhile, among the crowd of examinees, a notable figure stands out. It's Ellie Cyan, the second daughter of the prestigious Cyan family, known for producing powerful colorists. Her presence alone is enough to draw the attention and whispers of other hopefuls. A predatory grin spreads across his face as he acknowledges her potential. As the rumors said, she's decent enough to be noticed, he muses. He stares intently at Ellie, a gloved hand reaching out as if to grasp her, wondering how she and the others will react to his power. Suddenly, a voice booms from a large speaker, demanding the attention of all the candidates. As a voice booms through the stadium announcing the start of the Dawn Pioneering Corps entrance exam, both Gale and Ellie turn their attention to the main stage. The exam is about to begin. On stage, an instructor with bright yellow hair stands ready to address the hopefuls, his silhouette hinting at the power he holds. The crowd looks up in awe as the instructor, a colorist from the Dawn Pioneering Corps with glowing yellow hair and eyes, makes his entrance. The candidates recognize his importance, noting that a colorist showing up personally means the Corps is serious about recruitment this time. One candidate remarks on the instructor's overwhelming presence, realizing that an S-rank Corps is on a different level from the very beginning. The instructor, Yellow, looks over the massive crowd and begins his address with a simple, stern welcome. He starts by formally thanking everyone who applied for the difficult entrance exam. He acknowledges that everyone gathered has their own goals and missions, whether it's for money, power, honor, or duty. But he cuts through the sentiment with a harsh truth: ultimately, only skill matters. The Corps is looking for overwhelmingly strong candidates to reclaim human territory. He states bluntly that mediocre people aren't needed and that the first test, a tournament, will begin without delay. The reasoning is simple: the most important skill for a pioneer is combat ability, as they must face the horrors of the outside world. He declares that outside the city, it's a world of survival of the fittest where the weak die. This tournament is where they will prove their abilities. The first matchup is called number 126 against number 286. Gale, number 126, steps forward with a confident smirk. The crowd murmurs, recognizing a heavyweight fight from the start. They pity Gale's opponent. Gale grins, delighted. Lucky me, he thinks. Finally some fun from the start. I was dying of boredom earlier. His eyes gleam with malice as he wonders to himself, how should I play with him? Hee. As his opponent walks onto the stage, Gale lets out a puzzled HM. He's facing a mysterious, fully cloaked figure with a hood covering their face, marked as number 286. What's with that creepy guy? Gale wonders. Gale observes his opponent's posture, judging it to be awkward and incredibly weak. Whatever, doesn't matter, he decides, his hand confidently gripping the hilt of his sword. He draws his blade, telling his opponent that he's been bored keeping quiet for a while. With the stage set, Gale declares there's no need to hold back, and his sword begins to radiate a powerful green energy. The crowd instantly recognizes the technique, exclaiming in shock, "Oh. That's Gale's sword?" They are in awe of his power, commenting that he's truly a genius to be able to handle a sword so well at his age. A thought bubble finishes the crowd's sentiment, truly deserving of being called a genius. Gale digs his foot into the ground, cracking the floor as he prepares to unleash his ultimate attack, issuing a final, chilling warning: if you fail, you'll get shredded by me. Gale roars, swinging his sword and unleashing a massive wave of green energy that hurtles directly towards the still and silent, cloaked K. Gale's powerful green energy rushes forward, about to consume his opponent. But in a stunning turn of events, before the attack can land, K closes the distance in an instant and smashes his fist directly into Gale's face. The sheer force of the single punch creates a massive shockwave, sending Gale flying backwards across the arena. The entire crowd is rendered speechless, their faces frozen in expressions of utter shock and disbelief. Gale crashes into the stadium wall with devastating force, shattering the stone. The crowd can only stammer, "What? Gale." The so-called genius lies defeated in the rubble, taken down in a single hit. The spectators are in an uproar, screaming, "How is this even possible?" With his hood now down, K calmly looks at his fist, remarking to himself, "Ah, that startled me." He looks around at the shocked crowd, completely bewildered by the result of his punch, thinking, sudden acceleration, chaos everywhere. The shock in the crowd turns to a different kind of horror. A candidate points, questioning what he saw. "Wait. I'm not seeing this wrong, am I? Black." The terrible realization dawns on the crowd, and even the instructor Yellow looks on in disbelief as they shout, "Black is the same color as creatures." Even the elite Ellie Cyan is completely taken aback, her eyes wide as she wonders, can a human even have that color? The question hangs in the air. Gale's sword was taken out in one hit. Was this the power of black? K now stands alone, the center of everyone's fear and awe. Completely oblivious to the significance of his power, K looks at the stunned and fearful crowd with genuine confusion. Why are they reacting like this, he wonders. Did I make a mistake? The Pioneer exam is underway, with the sounds of battle echoing through the arena as the crowd of applicants watches intently. An applicant with reddish hair, wielding a staff, cries out in terror as he locks massive boulder towards his opponent. His terrified pleas are ignored. But just as the rock is about to crush him, K, the mysterious applicant with black hair, rushes through the barrage. With overwhelming force, K sends his opponent flying, ending the match in an instant. An announcement declares the clear winner, applicant number 286. The scene flashes to another victory for applicant 286, showing him landing a brutal finishing blow on a different opponent. Again, applicant number 286 is declared the winner after a decisive punch to his opponent's face. Watching from a balcony above, a blonde examiner observes the matches, a thoughtful expression on his face as he takes in the scene. The blonde examiner, team leader Yellow, discusses the results with his colleagues. They agree that K looks promising, noting he is the first ever black holder to appear and that they must recruit him before rumors spread. As they talk, a large, imposing figure approaches them from behind, casually remarking on their hard day. Team leader Yellow and his companions are visibly startled by the sudden and unexpected arrival of two new figures. The group is shocked to see the formidable team leader Red, accompanied by a calm, blue-haired woman with glasses. Team leader Yellow nervously asks Red what he's doing here, to which Red waves dismissively, saying he's just passing by. Red mentions a commissioned request he was handling, complaining that it's been a headache with no progress. He then asks if there's anyone worth scouting. Yellow eagerly responds that they can expect good results, as another fight breaks out below. Yellow proudly explains that this year's batch includes the young lady of the prestigious Cyan family, as well as someone extremely unique. Red's eyes flash with interest at the mention of a unique candidate. Yellow leans in and reveals the unique candidate's color, black. Red immediately understands the gravity of this information. Yellow adds that K has already defeated a top-ranked favorite and is achieving such overwhelming results that his admission is practically guaranteed. Red's blue-haired companion asks if this kid might be connected to a past incident, and Red quietly confirms that it's probable. With a sharp, calculating look, Red notes that a new color appearing after that strange incident is just too much of a coincidence. He decides to keep watching for now, his focus entirely on K, who stands alone in the arena, oblivious to the high-level attention he's attracted. K clenches his fist, feeling a surge of power and confidence. He thinks to himself that with this winning streak, becoming a pioneer is definitely possible. However, his confidence is tempered by caution. A dark memory flashes in his mind, and he reminds himself not to overuse his power, fearing he could suddenly lose his color again like last time. With her opponent encased in a prison of ice behind her, the Cyan Lady is declared the winner of her match, number 17. Watching from the crowd, Kay and the other applicants are in awe. They murmur among themselves that the Cyan family's color is always impressive and that her skill is exactly what you'd expect from a prestigious household. As the Cyan Lady walks away from her victory, leaving a trail of ice shards, Kay watches her, wondering to himself how anyone could possibly beat someone with such incredible power. The Cyan Lady stops abruptly as she passes Kay, their eyes meeting for a brief, tense moment. Kay is confused by her sudden stop, while the Cyan Lady gives him a sharp, scrutinizing look. She narrows her eyes, studying him intently before moving on. She walks away without a word, leaving Kay utterly bewildered as an announcement declares the conclusion of the first exam. Team leader Yellow steps forward to address the remaining applicants, thanking them for their hard work in the first round. He announces that since they are running behind schedule, they will move straight to the next test. The applicants who failed are instructed to head back and try again next time, and they begin to file out, dejected. The remaining candidates are exhausted and anxious, complaining that the exam is tough with not a moment to breathe, and hoping the next test will be easier. Just as team leader Yellow is about to announce the details of the next test, he hesitates, sensing an interruption. Team leader Red steps forward with a smirk, taking over the announcement. He declares that the second exam will be led personally by him. Team leader Yellow can only watch, surprised, as Red places a hand on his shoulder and takes control. Addressing the murmuring crowd of applicants, Red explains that the test is simple. His eyes glow as he says the single word, endure. A powerful, fiery aura begins to radiate from him. In an instant, Red unleashes his immense power, blasting the arena with waves of scorching red energy that engulf the terrified applicants. The applicants are suddenly trapped, each one encased in a sphere of blistering, fiery energy. With a confident smile, Red explains that he has recreated the environment of a region he once experienced, warning them that it's about to get pretty hot. He elaborates that the Black Lands are full of extreme environments where humans can barely survive, showing visions of volcanic fields, desolate wastes, and frozen plains. He dismissively states that compared to the true horrors of the Black Lands, what they are experiencing now is nothing more than a warm stove. Red looks down on them, stating that the test is simple, endure and you pass. But if they can't withstand even this, they never had the qualification to be a pioneer in the first place. The applicants immediately begin to suffer, crying out in pain from the intense heat. They can't believe this is supposed to be a warm stove, and wonder what kind of place the Black Lands truly are. Panic sets in as the applicants realize their own abilities can't even scratch the surface of the fiery barriers. With no other option, all they can do is try to hold on and endure the blistering heat. Watching the overwhelming display, team leader Yellow remarks that while he'd heard rumors of Red slacking on his training, his skills clearly haven't dulled in the slightest. From his vantage point, Red looks down at the field of fiery orbs. Team leader Yellow is in awe, thinking to himself that Red's control is incredible to be able to cover so many people with a barrier in an instant. Yellow smirks, acknowledging that this level of power is just what you'd expect from someone who has reached the absolute peak of their abilities. While most applicants are suffering, a sphere of brilliant cyan-colored ice suddenly clashes against Red's fiery barrier, cracking under the intense heat. The other applicants are shocked to see the Cyan Lady has manifested her own protective barrier, creating a stark contrast to their fiery prisons. With a burst of power, the Cyan Lady shatters her own defensive ice shard, standing completely unharmed and composed within the fiery test. Even team leader Red is taken aback by this display, murmuring to himself that her performance is pretty good. Red notes that while the Cyan family's power should have been a natural counter, she still broke through his barrier almost immediately. He looks at her with newfound respect, admitting that this girl might actually deserve to be called a real prodigy. Having acknowledged the Cyan Lady's talent, Red turns his attention to the other unique applicant he was told about, wondering, anyway, what about that other kid? He scans the fiery orbs and finds K, applicant 286, who is still standing and holding on somehow, though clearly struggling. Red strokes his chin, looking unimpressed. He observes that K is only enduring, not breaking through like the Cyan Lady did. Losing interest, Red turns away, muttering that it's not like he expected much from K to begin with. Inside the barrier, K is in a full-blown panic. He realizes he's completely screwed and has no idea what to do. He curses himself, remembering how he used up far too much of his color in the previous fights. If he'd known this was coming, he would have paced himself. He can feel his power draining faster the longer he holds on. To his horror, he sees his black color beginning to leak out of him uncontrollably. The fear of what will happen if he's revealed to be colorless in front of everyone, especially the examiners, grips him. He knows that if he's lucky, he'll just end up as a lab rat. Desperate, K realizes he can't just sit there. He needs to find a way out, frantically trying to remember if there is something he can absorb like he did last time. As he searches for something, anything, to absorb, his gaze falls upon the swirling red energy of the barrier itself. A dangerous idea forms in his mind. He realizes the barrier itself is a color ability, wondering if it would be possible to absorb it. He recalls the wild, untamed nature of his absorption ability, admitting to himself that he still doesn't truly know its limits. The heat is becoming unbearable. With no time left to think, K decides he has to try. He presses his hand directly against the fiery barrier. The moment his hand makes contact, his black color erupts from his palm, beginning to directly absorb the red energy of the barrier. The effect is instantaneous and violent, causing a massive flare-up of red and black energy that shocks the nearby applicants. K's absorption power erupts, sending a shockwave through the arena as a chaotic vortex of black and red energy explodes from his position, stunning everyone present. Even the examiners are left speechless. Team leader Yellow and Red can only stare, their eyes wide with shock and disbelief at the unprecedented event unfolding before them. Team leader Red continues to stare in disbelief, unable to comprehend what just happened as he mutters, "What in the world?" His shock slowly turns into a look of intrigued amusement. A bead of sweat rolls down his face as a wide, unnerving smile spreads across his lips. As K stands wreathed in a storm of black and red energy, his eyes glowing menacingly, Red declares with a wild grin, "Ha! Looks like we've got a real lunatic this time." The chaotic energy subsides, leaving an eerie silence in the arena. K stands alone in the center, a faint dark aura still emanating from him as the other applicants stare from a distance, completely stunned. The reality of what he's just done crashes down on K. With a panicked grin, he realizes this wasn't supposed to happen and curses himself, thinking, "Damn it, I stood out way too much." The light blue-haired examinee reflects on the exam's importance to her. She wanted to prove the power she had honed for her family, but she is shocked by the sight of an examinee with black color. She stares at K, whose unprecedented black color leaves her questioning if such a power can even exist in a person. Although his power was faint, she couldn't help but feel a sense of anxiety creeping in. A flashback reveals her past. She was always raised to be the best in her family and felt she couldn't afford to fall behind anyone. The pressure was immense, as she couldn't risk upsetting her sister. Her thoughts turned to Kay. She acknowledges that he was incredibly strong, recalling his previous fights where he brutally defeated his opponents. She compares her own abilities to his, admitting that even if she got serious, she couldn't guarantee victory against him. She feels there's something about him that can't be explained by strength alone as she pictures his immense, dark aura. She wonders, what is he? She quickly shakes off the thought, telling herself it doesn't matter what he is. Just then, a man with striking red hair, casually puts his arm around a startled Kay. The light blue-haired examinee looks on, thinking to herself, next time won't be like this. Red smirks, impressed. He comments on Kay's black color ability, noting that its wild aura seems to be sucking everything in. As Red leads Kay away, the surrounding examinees murmur and stare. Red tells Kay he can't hold back his curiosity and wants to have a private talk about his black color. Kay, looking bewildered and uncomfortable, meekly asks about the exam. Red casually dismisses his concerns, saying he's sure to pass and that he will take care of it. Kay is stunned. He realizes that Red's intervention means he actually passed the exam. He thinks to himself in disbelief, finally, I'm a pioneer now. Red tells Kay to quit shouting. In the background, an official with glowing yellow hair, appears and yells at Red for doing whatever he wants while the exam is still ongoing. Red nonchalantly apologizes. The exam proctor, gets everyone's attention. He announces that due to unexpected circumstances, the exam has been interrupted, but it will continue. Yellow continues, stating that everyone will undergo an additional test, with one exception, number 17, the light blue-haired examinee, who broke out of the barrier on her own. The light blue-haired examinee narrows her eyes with determination. She silently watches as Red leads Kay away into a dark tunnel, their figures glowing with their respective auras. The door of a vintage car clicks open. Red stands with Kay in front of the car, where a woman with blue hair waits inside. Red tells Kay he'll be right back and to wait there. As Kay looks around, his eyes widen in shock and realization. He recognizes the desolate, destroyed cityscape. This is the ink waste, the very place where he first fell and gained his powers. He and Red stand alone amidst the ruins. Red glances at Kay's shocked expression and asks, ugly sight, right? He then drops a bombshell, revealing that a major incident happened right here not long ago, making Kay tremble. He elaborates on the incident, explaining that it was the first time ever that two fully colored pioneers had been turned completely colorless. A grim image shows one of the victims being carried away on a stretcher. Red continues his explanation, adding that according to eyewitnesses, they claim to have seen a massive, shadowy creature during the incident. Red looks directly at Kay, pointing out the suspicious coincidence that Kay, the very first person with black, appeared shortly after. Kay is speechless with shock. His red eyes glowing, Red identifies Kay's ability as a power that absorbs other colors. He calls it a completely foreign ability, something never seen before. Kay begins to sweat, realizing the depth of Red's knowledge. The horrifying realization dawns on Kay, Red knew about his secret from the very start. Panic sets in. Kay wonders if he can run, but immediately dismisses the idea as impossible. Red is a powerful figure, known as a hero even among other colorists. Red laughs, breaking the tension. He says he was just testing Kay, but his honest, fearful reaction makes it less fun. Red explains that while his official job is to investigate what happened at the ink waste, he's personally more interested in Kay's ability. He continues, noting that color powers are simple but normally cannot mix at all. He's never seen anything like the black color or the power Kay is using. Red looks at Kay, stating that his ability seems to ignore all the complicated relationships and rules that govern other colors. Red recalls Kay's performance in the second exam, pointing out that Kay clearly can't control his power, which was why it was sucking in everything around him. Caught off guard, Kay stammers, unable to form a response. Red decides they need to run a test. K, still processing the situation, can only ask, "Sorry?" Red holds his hand out towards K, explaining that he needs to know how far the ability goes, how it feels, and how it works. With a confident glow, Red issues a direct challenge, "So go on, try absorbing mine." K is horrified. "What? No, that's dangerous," he protests. Red just laughs, telling the rookie he's far too early to be worrying about him. Red's expression hardens. "Quit talking and try it." K falls silent, looking down with apprehension. Red lays out the facts. Black symbolizes the Black Lands, an ominous force that devours everything. Leaving such a dangerous ability unchecked is unacceptable. He warns K that depending on how his power is used, it could shake the very foundation of their home, Shining City. Red's glowing eyes narrow as he reveals a hidden truth, that humanoid creatures also exist, though people don't know it yet. He tells K that if he ever has to face these creatures, they might have to deal with K himself here and now, in the worst-case scenario. A sharp blade of red energy materializes next to him to emphasize the threat. Finally giving in to the pressure, K says he understands. He agrees to give it a try and reaches out, taking Red's hand. With black energy swirling around his arm, K seeks one last assurance. "And if anything goes wrong," he asks, looking Red in the eye, "it's not my fault, right?" The moment their hands clasp, K's unstable black power erupts. A massive vortex of dark energy swirls around them, but Red remains perfectly calm, ready for what comes next. The moment K tries to absorb the color, it backfires. The immense red energy surges into him, causing a glowing red mark to appear on his chest as he's consumed by fire. He screams in agony as the power becomes uncontrollable, exploding outward in a massive wave of red energy. He panics, screaming that it's too hot and that he can't control the overwhelming power. The sensation is unbearable, like molten lava is boiling inside his body. He struggles against the overwhelming power coursing through him. As he's engulfed in the fiery aura, K gets a true sense of Red's immense power, realizing this is the strength of the man they call a hero. Red watches calmly, analyzing the phenomenon. He notes that K's black color is absorbing his red power without rest, as if it's starving. He deduces that while strong people could likely resist the absorption because it's still immature, it remains obviously dangerous to most. Red's expression turns serious. He knows this can't be the full extent of the ability and becomes curious about how K actually uses the colors he absorbs. Suddenly, the red energy being absorbed by K begins to manifest uncontrollably from his body. The energy erupts in a violent, fiery explosion. Red is forced to step back, taken by surprise at the sudden surge. He watches in shock as the violent red and black energy begins to coalesce into a monstrous, spiky form around K. As the transformation completes, Red mutters that if he didn't know better, he would believe it was a living creature. Seeing the monstrous form, Red's eyes narrow. He is now certain that K was the one behind the incident at the ink waste. Red decides he has a lot to figure out from K, but first, he needs to put out the fire in front of him. Inside the energy construct, K's eyes glow with red fury. A ball of fire ignites in Red's hand as he prepares to subdue K before he can rampage any further. The creature growls, but suddenly Red stops, noticing a change in the energy. Inside his consciousness, K is bombarded by voices urging him to accept the power, to take more, to unleash it. He struggles, wondering why the voices are suddenly appearing. He screams internally at the voices, telling them to shut up and stay still, fighting for control. With a final surge of willpower, K grits his teeth and clenches his fist, roaring back at the voices, "Shut up and stay crushed." He successfully forces the power down, and the monstrous red energy shatters and dissipates around him. Red is left utterly speechless, staring in disbelief as the last fragments of the berserk energy vanish. K gasps for breath, exhausted from the internal struggle. Red can only ask in astonishment, "You suppressed it?" Still shaking, K exclaims that the experience was insane and that he genuinely thought he was dead. He has no idea why he suddenly went berserk. The terrifying reality of the situation then sinks in. He lost control and went berserk in front of a powerful colorist. He looks at Red with a sense of dread. K thinks to himself that he must investigate his own ability more seriously soon, then nervously waits for Red's judgment. To his surprise, Red seems amused. He admits he was caught off guard by the power, but frames it as a success. With a grin, he says, "Haha. Seriously, this is fun." Red then adds a cryptic comment, "Yeah. If you want something, you have to take risks." Changing the subject, Red declares that's enough for the test. He then says, "Oh, by the way." Red reveals his official role, stating that he's the one assigned to handle the incident at the ink waste. And since he's accepted the request, his job is to find the culprit. He looks pointedly at K, saying, "And right in front of me stands someone who looks like a very strong suspect." The accusation leaves K completely stunned. Red explains that more people are interested in this case than K thinks. With eyewitness accounts of a shadowy monster, it will be easy for them to point the finger at K once rumors of his ability spread. He lays out the severe consequences. The damages alone will cost hundreds of millions, and worse, if the city leadership deems his ability too dangerous, they could banish him or turn him into a lab rat. K despairs, realizing there's no escape. He knows he's technically a victim, but the situation is stacked against him. "What do I do?" he thinks frantically. Seeing his chance, Red makes an offer. "Well, if you come under me, maybe I can do something about it." Without a second thought, a desperate K bows deeply, shouting, "I'm in your care." Red stops him, clarifying that he isn't offering to fix everything for free. In return, K will have to grant him a few favors. To K, anything is better than facing astronomical debt or becoming a lab experiment. He enthusiastically agrees, declaring that he'll do anything he needs. A predatory smirk spreads across Red's face as his eyes glow. He repeats K's desperate promise back to him with chilling implication, "Anything?" The massive wheels of the landship begin to turn, kicking up dust and debris as the vehicle lurches forward, embarking on its journey into the unknown territories. Peering through a small porthole, K's expression is a mixture of anxiety and wonder. He's never ventured this far out before, and the apprehension is clear on his face. The sheer scale of the steam-powered landship is immense as it trundles across the desolate landscape. For K, this is a monumental moment, perhaps the very first step of his new life as a pioneer. K's reflection is interrupted by a sharp voice. Gino, a man with vibrant green hair and another member of the team, addresses him condescendingly as the black hair. "Seriously, you're making me nervous," Gino continues, his tone laced with irritation. "Stop being a distraction and just sit down, all right?" K's eyes narrow slightly, a flicker of annoyance crossing his features. K turns to see Gino sitting with his arms crossed, beside a woman with long, cyan blue hair. Gino seems pleased with himself, thinking this pioneer work is exactly what he'd been hoping for. Gino smirks with a dark expression, his eyes hidden in shadow. The thought of being team members now with K is clearly something that displeases him greatly. The blue-haired woman, Lavian, stares ahead with a pensive look. She seems to be lost in thought, contemplating the reality of their current situation. The scene flashes back to a previous conversation. K looks bewildered as he is unexpectedly asked to join an exploration team. The man with striking red hair, Red, explains that he's secured a spot in an unexplored area and needs K's help for the mission. Noticing K's hesitant expression, Red laughs it off, telling him not to make such a worried face. Red elaborates that K won't be going alone. He shows a map indicating several outposts, explaining that all the new recruits are joining, so he'll just be one of many. Red informs K that the Corps will announce the full expedition plan soon, so he should wait for further instructions. The details will be provided then. Red smiles, giving K his final, simple instructions before leaving. Red's only command for now is to be on time and show up at the designated spot. K is left to process this sudden recruitment. Back in the present, K recalls the conversation. He understands now that when he boarded the vehicle, Gino and Lavian were already here waiting for him. His thoughts drift to how this team was formed. Because Red had interfered with the Pioneer exam, the process was shaken up, giving everyone a second chance to prove themselves. This is how a number of other strong contenders, like Gino, managed to pass the extra test and qualify as pioneers. Furthermore, Lavian, who was the top scorer of the exam under the name Ellie, specifically requested to join Red's team herself. Returning to the present, Gino glares at K, seething internally. He can't believe he allowed himself to be embarrassed by this seemingly clueless newcomer during the exam. He grits his teeth, remembering his humiliating defeat at K's hands. He tells himself that he just let his guard down for a second, and that next time, K won't be so lucky. Gino continues to stew in his anger, vowing that once the exploration ends, he'll be ready for a rematch. He mutters that if Lavian hadn't been there, he would have acted already. Sitting nearby, a woman with braided purple hair and glasses adjusts her frames, seemingly oblivious to Gino's internal monologue. Lavian, the blue-haired woman, cuts through the tension with a cold dose of reality. She bluntly tells Gino to just drop it, reminding him that if he were to fight K again, he'd just be knocked out anyway. "You're wasting your breath," Lavian states, looking directly at the fuming Gino. "K is completely out of your league." Gino can only stare back, utterly speechless and stunned by her declaration. Lavian smirks, thinking that she and K might actually get along. She then declares out loud that she will be the one to challenge K first, catching him completely off guard. K is utterly baffled. He doesn't understand what Lavian is talking about, claiming they made eye contact and came to an agreement. With a cold glare, Lavian tells Gino that since he already lost, he should just keep quiet and wait his turn, leaving him stunned and speechless. The air crackles with tension. K stands awkwardly between a furious Gino and a composed Lavian, caught in the middle of their burgeoning rivalry. K sweats, a look of deep unease in his eyes. He is completely unsure how this dysfunctional team is supposed to work together. As the landship travels through the desolate, ink-black plains towards a distant outpost, K can't shake the feeling that this mission is not going to work out well. The massive vehicle finally arrives at a bustling industrial harbor, where workers and pioneers are busy loading and unloading supplies. As they disembark, K takes in the impressive sight. So this is the Dawn Pioneer Outpost, the forward base for all expeditions into the Black Land. He marvels at the scale of the operation. He's used to preparing for solo trips, so he had no idea that the S-Class Corps handled everything on such a massive scale, from supplies to setup. Suddenly, K is startled as a friendly hand pokes him on the cheek, pulling him from his thoughts. A familiar, smiling face appears before him. It's a young woman with white hair. "What are you spacing out for?" she asks playfully. K's face lights up with joy. "Mari. You came," he exclaims. She smiles back, saying of course she had to be there for his very first mission. Mari then reveals another surprise, announcing that Nero, K's small, cat-like companion, is here too. The creature pops its head out from her jacket. K takes Nero into his arms, thanking Mari for looking after him. She brushes it off, saying it's nothing because she considers Nero to be her family, too. Mari explains that joining the Dawn Corps' expedition is an awesome opportunity for her as well, since her practical skills are coming in handy, and it's great for her experience. Just then, a voice booms over a megaphone, calling for assembly time. All the pioneers, including K and Mari, turn their attention to the stage. A leader, Arancha, addresses the gathered crowd, announcing that, as planned, they will all be entering the Black Land soon. Realizing it's time to go, Kei gently hands Nero back to Mari, asking her to please take care of him. She agrees, promising to leave him to her. Mari gives him a final piece of advice, telling him not to do anything reckless. With a smile, Kei says his goodbyes and turns to join his group. Mari tries to comfort the whimpering Nero, who is clearly sad to see Kei leaving. Suddenly, Nero leaps from Mari's grasp with a surprising burst of energy, causing her to exclaim in surprise. Mari watches in horror as Nero sails through the air, following after Kei, who is walking away, oblivious. Instead of landing on the ground, Nero dives directly into Kei's shadow, which ripples like a pool of liquid ink upon impact. Mari's eyes go wide with shock and disbelief, her mind unable to comprehend what she just witnessed as Nero vanishes completely. Completely flustered, she stammers in confusion, calling out as Kei begins to walk away, Huh? What's going on? Kei, hold up. Mari stands frozen, her hand outstretched as Kei disappears into the crowd. She quietly wonders to herself if the bizarre event she just witnessed is actually no big deal. She tries to reassure herself, thinking that what she saw was probably nothing to worry about, even as the image of Nero vanishing into shadow lingers in her mind. Meanwhile, the main body of pioneers gathers in a massive, dimly lit cavern, the staging ground for their dangerous expedition. The expedition leader, a woman with vibrant orange hair named Arantia, shouts to the assembled group, telling them to get ready to head into the Black Land. With a powerful voice, Arantia gives her most important command, and remember, safety always comes first on every mission. She warns them that according to scouts, Area 21 has had reports of unknown dangerous creatures. It's the same area where the corpse of an A-rank creature was found, making it an extremely high-risk zone. After the briefing, one of her subordinates approaches her with a concerned look. "Lady Arantia," he calls out, telling her to stay sharp. Arantia turns to him, asking what the matter is. He nervously begins to explain that Chief Red is taking the new recruits. And they left their assigned formation without permission. The news hits Arantia like a lightning bolt, her eyes widening in disbelief and fury. "What? For real?" she exclaims. The subordinate confirms that it's true. He reminds her that with Red gone, she is now in charge of the entire site, leaving her to deal with the mess. Arantia sighs in frustration, muttering about Red's constant troublemaking. Despite her anger, her priority is her team's safety, and she asks her senior officer to please bring the rookies back safe. The scene shifts to a dark and desolate canyon, far from the main expedition group. This is where Red has taken his team. Kei's hand emerges from a pool of darkness, as if pulling himself out of his own shadow. It appears Nero has safely transported him to this new location. Red's special team is now all together in the eerie canyon. Red stands confidently at the front, with Kei, a displeased Gino, and a calm Lavian behind him. Kei, looking around at the foreboding environment, nervously asks Red if their separate mission is really safe. Red, glowing with a faint red aura, simply replies that their destination is different from the main group's. Kei presses on, voicing his concern that the team is composed entirely of rookies, which makes the unsanctioned mission feel even more dangerous. Kei then turns to his teammates, asking why they tagged along since he thought Red only wanted him. Gino explodes, refusing to be left behind by someone like Kei, while Lavian coolly states she has no intention of letting Kei monopolize Red's special training. Red smirks, clarifying that he never planned to hand-feed anyone. However, he reassures them that with him present, they won't get seriously hurt. With a look of supreme confidence, Red reminds them of his power, stating simply, "I'm on this team, after all." He cuts the discussion short, ordering the team to stop talking and start moving. Kei's eyes show a mix of apprehension and resolve. As Red leads them deeper into the canyon with a mysterious glowing device, shadowy creatures with glowing eyes begin to crawl out from the darkness, surrounding the team. Lavian is the first to react, launching herself into battle. With her sword drawn, she unleashes a brilliant slash of energy, cutting down a shadow beast. With a look of intense concentration, Lavian takes in her surroundings. This is her first real taste of combat in the hostile environment of the Black Land. She finds herself surrounded by an endless horde of creatures. The air is heavy and suffocating, and she quickly realizes that a real fight is nothing like the controlled environment of training. She glances at her spoit, a device that stores her colored energy. Knowing that the creatures are endless, she realizes she must conserve her power, or she'll run out fast. As she fights, Lavian glances at Kay, who is handling the shadow creatures with an unnerving ease. She realizes she needs to be more strategic to keep up. Meanwhile, Kay fights with a quiet determination, telling himself that as long as he does his part, at least he won't fall behind the others. Lavian's eyes widen slightly. She notices something strange and unorthodox about the way Kay is fighting. She calls out to him over the sounds of battle, asking a question that has been bothering her: "Why don't you use a spoit?" Kay looks back, momentarily flustered. He stammers, thinking back to the entrance test, realizing he didn't use one there either. He gives a casual, almost sheepish reply that leaves his teammates stunned: "I don't have one." Lavian is shocked into silence as Kay explains that the weapons are simply too expensive, and he figured he could get by without one. "So I never used one," Kay finishes. The revelation hits Gino the hardest, and he stares with a mixture of shock and fury. Gino is incredulous. A spoit is a must-have, a fundamental weapon for any pioneer fighting creatures in the Black Land. The entire system of their combat revolves around this principle: to take down a creature, a pioneer must mix colors into it with a spoit. The implication of Kay's statement slowly dawns on Gino. He looks at Kay, standing calmly among the dissipating creatures, and realizes he took one down completely barehanded. Gino glances down at his own glowing green spoit, a symbol of his pioneer status, and lets out a frustrated grunt. The memory of his defeat during the exam comes flooding back, now layered with a fresh coat of humiliation. "Then I went up against a guy who doesn't even use a spoit and couldn't even scratch him." He grits his teeth, the shame and frustration boiling over as he curses his own weakness. His humiliation hardens into a vengeful glare. He makes a silent, furious vow: "Kay, someday I'll crush you with my own hands." Red, holding a lantern that cuts through the gloom, walks past the fuming Gino, seemingly oblivious to his internal turmoil. Observing the intense rivalry brewing between his rookies, Red allows himself a small, satisfied smirk. This is exactly the kind of competitive fire he was hoping to ignite. With a smug look, Red thinks to himself that things are about to get much more interesting. He turns to his team, who stand at the edge of a deep, dark chasm. "Come on now," he calls out cheerfully. "We're almost there, just push a little more. Let's finish up fast and go celebrate." In a dark, cavernous area, the shadowy remains of defeated creatures litter the ground, their forms slowly dissipating after a fierce battle. The team gathers. Their leader, Captain Red, announces that they haven't even started the main mission yet and tells them not to relax too much. He gives the party, including Kay, Gale, and Ellie, 10 minutes to regroup before moving out. Gale clutches a small vial of green liquid, sighing in exhaustion. He can't believe he had to use so much of his color in that last fight. Kay's eyes widen as he spots the vial. He immediately recognizes it as personal ink. Down below, Gale doesn't hesitate to drink the restorative liquid. A flashback explains what personal ink is: a specially refined alchemical ink, an essential and expensive supply for pioneers that restores their unique color and vitality. The ink is crafted to match the user's unique color, making it insanely expensive. Vials of various brilliant colors, red, blue, yellow, green, are shown, highlighting their value. Kay watches with a frustrated look as both Ellie and Gale casually chug down their expensive inks. He thinks to himself, "Damn. I'm jealous." As Kay walks away from the group, Ellie looks over at him, holding her own vial, seemingly noticing that he isn't partaking. K thinks to himself that it's not like he really needs it anyway. K suddenly stops and turns back toward his teammates, his hand outstretched with a strange intensity. Ellie and Gale look on, confused, wondering what he's trying to do. From his hand, K unleashes his power, a vortex of black energy that reaches out and begins to absorb the remnants of the creatures they just defeated. With black wisps of energy dissipating from his clenched fist, K lets out a breath of relief, feeling his strength return. "All right, recovery complete," he declares. His teammates stare at him, completely stunned by his bizarre method of recovery. Gale cautiously asks, "K, are you sure you're okay?" K casually reassures them he's fine, having done this many times. But his teammates are in disbelief. Ellie asks how he could absorb a creature with no consequences, while Gale thinks it's unbelievable he could take something like that without flinching. Their discussion is cut short as Captain Red turns to the group, asking if they've rested enough. "It's time to move." With a confident smirk, Captain Red looks over his shoulder at the team and announces, "We're here now." Before them looms their destination, a colossal, swirling mass of pure black energy, causing the surrounding rocks to crumble and float into its vortex. K stares at the spectacle, his face a mask of shock and confusion. He recognizes the phenomenon, asking, "A black curtain?" The camera zooms in on the ominous, swirling abyss, a void that seems to consume all light and matter around it, leaving the party to wonder, what is this? Captain Red glances at the stunned K with a knowing smile. "That's the reason I brought you here," he says calmly. To demonstrate his point, Captain Red tells them to see for themselves as he summons a swirling ball of crimson energy in his hand. With his team watching from behind, he unleashes a powerful beam of red energy directly at the black curtain. The crimson blast streaks across the cavern and strikes the center of the swirling black mass. Instead of damaging it, the red energy is instantly consumed, splashing into the vortex and disappearing completely, causing the curtain to flare. The party watches as the red energy vanishes without a trace. Captain Red turns to them and confirms what they just witnessed, explaining, "If you try to force it open, it absorbs that power and becomes even tougher." He then directs his gaze to a stunned K. "The absorption part is similar to your ability, isn't it?" Red says, a smirk playing on his lips. "That's why I had a hunch your power could erase this barrier." This revelation finally makes it clear why K was brought on this dangerous, unauthorized mission. Captain Red continues his explanation, revealing that inside the curtain lies the path to a set of ruins. It's within these ruins, he states, that they will find the true objective of their expedition. He reveals the name of their prize, the Stella Fragment. The revelation shocks K, whose eyes widen in disbelief. The other members of the team are just as surprised. Gale and Ellie state that this is the first time they've heard about it either. K remains silent, his expression unreadable as he processes the captain's sudden revelation about their true mission. Captain Red casually dismisses their surprise. He confirms the Stella Fragment exists and that Shining City is desperately hunting for it, promising to explain the details later. With the objective revealed, Captain Red refocuses on the immediate task. "First, let's get rid of that curtain," he orders. A determined K responds, yes." Leaving his team behind, K walks alone towards the edge of the massive, swirling vortex of darkness. He cautiously reaches out, his hand hovering just inches away from the curtain's unstable, shadowy surface. K places his palm directly onto the black curtain. Immediately, his dark power activates, and black energy begins to swirl around his hand as he starts the absorption process. The team watches as K, now a small figure against the immense void, begins to absorb the entire black curtain into himself. Captain Red watches with a wide, sinister grin, pleased with the result. "Oh." As expected, he mutters to himself. As K continues his work, the others notice the effect, the massive barrier is slowly but surely disappearing. Captain Red lets out a sinister laugh. "Heh heh heh, Kay, your power is gonna be real useful from now on," he exclaims, while Kay visibly strains from the effort of absorption. Suddenly, the entire cavern begins to shake violently. The team is thrown off balance, with Gale shouting, "NGH. What? This shaking?" Ellie expresses her concern, realizing the potential consequence of the disturbance. If it's this noisy, the creatures will. The team looks up into the darkness as ominous rumbling and screeching sounds echo from all around them, confirming their fears. Just as they feared, the noise attracts unwanted attention. Silhouettes of monstrous, shadowy creatures with sharp teeth and claws begin to emerge from the darkness. A massive horde of varied shadow creatures descends upon them, their glowing eyes fixed on the party. Captain Red laughs, completely unfazed by the swarm. "Huh, quite the crowd gathering," he remarks, as Ellie and Gale ready their weapons for the impending fight. Captain Red calmly issues his orders. "We'll handle the creatures while Kay removes the curtain," he commands, as Kay continues to focus on absorbing the massive barrier before them. As he walks forward holding a strange white lantern, Captain Red gives a final, chilling order to his two combat-ready subordinates: "Wipe them all out." Without hesitation, Gale and Ellie leap into action, charging headfirst into the swarm of monsters. Gale spins through the air, his blade glowing with green energy as he unleashes a powerful slash that cuts through multiple shadow creatures at once. Following his lead, Ellie unleashes her power, summoning massive, sharp spires of blue energy that erupt from the ground, impaling the monsters from below. Captain Red stands back, observing the battle with a detached amusement. Seeing his teammates handle the situation effectively, he notes, "Looks like there was no need at all," before casually dispatching a few stray creatures with beams of his own red energy. Captain Red internally praises his team. He had thought he would need to babysit the new recruits, but seeing Gale and Ellie fight so effectively, he concludes that he can work with them. Below them, Kay continues to struggle, absorbing the black curtain that now seems to be infused with red energy. With a pleased, almost lazy expression, Captain Red muses on how nice it is when his subordinates can take care of things on their own. While Captain Red watches from a distance, casually dispatching monsters, Kay is on his knees, pouring all his focus and energy into absorbing the last of the black curtain. As he absorbs the energy, Kay feels something is wrong. He questions why the curtain's power feels so similar to his own, wondering if it's just because they are both the same black color. He realizes the true danger: this is a contest of wills. If he loses focus for even a second, the curtain will fight back and try to steal his color instead. But when it comes to a contest of strength, Kay declares, "I'm stronger." He unleashes a final, powerful surge of his absorption ability, overwhelming the curtain's resistance. With a final breath, Kay stands up on the ledge, having finally absorbed everything. The massive black vortex is gone. He looks down into the abyss that the curtain was concealing. He questions if this is truly the entrance to the ruins, noting that he can't even see the bottom of the massive pit. Kay turns away from the pit and calls out to his leader, who is still overseeing the battle against the monster horde. "Team leader. Curtain removed." Captain Red turns back with a smug grin. "Oh. Good, good," he says, praising Kay for his work and reminding him that his instincts are never wrong. With the way forward now clear, Captain Red shouts to his other two subordinates, ordering them to clean up the rest of the monsters and gather up. But just as they are about to finish the fight, he abruptly stops them. "You don't have to kill every single one," he starts to say, sensing something new. His eyes flash with alarm as a powerful presence makes itself known, far stronger than the fodder they've been fighting. A massive, unseen force suddenly sweeps across the battlefield below, shocking Gale and Ellie as their enemies are targeted by an unknown attacker. In an instant, the entire horde of shadow creatures is completely obliterated, torn to shreds by the powerful attack. The three members on the ledge look down, stunned into silence by the sudden and overwhelming display of power. Gale can only stare in wide-eyed disbelief, stammering, "Huh. What the? From their high vantage point, they see that the chasm opens up into a vast, tiled arena. The area is now completely clear of monsters. One of them says, "That's impossible." Captain Red's relaxed demeanor vanishes, replaced by a grimace. "Ha! No wonder everything was going so smoothly," he mutters, realizing their easy progress was too good to be true. He reveals to his team that he had received a report that a dangerous entity was lurking nearby, flashing back to an image of a colossal, monstrous being cornering two explorers. He just didn't think that guy would actually show up. Down below, standing over the remains of the dead creatures, a lone, menacing figure appears out of the smoke. Staring down at the massive blade of the newcomer, Captain Red realizes the situation has changed. "Looks like we're out of time to fool around," he says grimly. The dangerous entity is revealed in full. A tall, intimidating figure in a tattered black cloak, with a half-mask covering one side of his face. His visible hair is stark white, and he carries an arsenal of powerful weapons on his back. The camera closes in on the dangerous entity's face, revealing the chilling detail of his appearance, a glowing white eye behind a dark, bird-like mask, and a scarred but human-like face with stark white hair and a cold, determined gaze. The arrival of the dangerous entity changes everything. Captain Red's playful demeanor vanishes, replaced by a grim resolve as he makes a sudden, drastic decision. Ignoring Kay's concerned shout, his red aura flares as he prepares to give a shocking new order. In a shocking turn of events, Captain Red shoves the white lantern into a stunned Kay's hands. "You're going into the ruins," he commands, "right now." He continues his order, telling the three rookies that they will work together to find the Stella fragment without him. Red expresses his confidence that their combined abilities are enough for the task, but Kay protests in absolute shock, "Us, by ourselves?" "Stop whining and go," Red says coldly, and without another word, he shoves all three of them off the ledge into the pitch-black abyss below. As they plummet into the darkness, Kay, Gale, and Ellie all scream their leader's name in betrayal and terror. Their cries of "What are we supposed to do on our own?" echo as they fall. Above, on the cliff edge, the glowing red silhouette of Captain Red faces off against the dark, imposing silhouette of the dangerous entity. A split panel shows the two powerful beings, their expressions cold and resolute. The dangerous entity and Captain Red are now locked in a silent standoff, ready for a battle that will shake the very foundations of the Inkwaste Zone. Kay crashes onto the ground below, his vision fading to black and white as the shock and exertion take their toll. "Ugh! My head!" he groans, barely conscious. As Kay struggles to understand where he is, the lantern Captain Red forced upon him begins to emit a warm, powerful glow, cutting through the darkness. Kay holds the glowing lantern aloft, its light spreading across the strange new environment, restoring color and clarity to his vision. His eyes, now wide with shock, take in the scene revealed by the lantern's light. It's far from what he could have ever imagined. He's not in an ancient temple or tomb. The ruins are the desolate, crumbling remains of a massive modern city. He stands alone amidst the wreckage of skyscrapers, utterly bewildered. What is this place?" he asks the empty air. From a high vantage point, Kay looks down upon a vast, ruined city, completely awestruck. Incredible," he murmurs. With a bead of sweat on his face, Kay expresses his disbelief, unable to comprehend that such a massive place could exist so deep underground. After wandering through the oppressive darkness, Kay, holding a lantern, finally reunites with Ellie and Gale. While they complain, he's just thankful he's not separated from the group. Ellie coolly states they wandered around because of Gale's poor sense of direction, but he immediately retorts, accusing her of being just as lost. The three of them are dwarfed by the sheer scale of the underground ruins. Looking at the silhouettes of the crumbling city, they wonder about the nature of this unexpectedly huge place. Gale grows frustrated, expressing his doubts about finding any traces of an ancient civilization. He questions how they're supposed to find something called the Stella Fragment in ruins this massive. He continues his complaint, pointing out that they don't even know what the fragment looks like. Kay, looking dejected, has to agree that searching blindly would take forever. A thought crosses Kay's mind: if only Nero were here. He recalls a memory of his younger self with a small black cat, and another image where the cat appears as a glowing spirit. Suddenly, Kay's eyes widen. He thinks he hears a faint, familiar sound, cue. Startled, Kay looks down to see the very same cat-like creature from his memories, Nero, appearing out of nowhere at his feet and letting out another cue. Kay is completely shocked and calls out Nero's name, wondering how his companion could possibly be here. Ellie and Gale turn to see what the commotion is about. Ellie's sharp eyes immediately spot the strange creature by Kay's feet. Kay flinches, a wave of panic washing over him as he realizes his secret is out. I'm done for, he thinks. Kay's mind races. He knows that since they've already seen Nero, making excuses is pointless. But then, a new thought emerges: maybe this could actually be a good opportunity. He reasons with himself that once he starts working as a pioneer, he wouldn't be able to hide Nero forever anyway. A plan begins to form in his mind. Peeking out from behind his shoulder, Nero seems to listen in as Kay thinks, if I show them Nero's actually useful. Having made up his mind, Kay calls out to his two companions, telling them to come over for a minute. With newfound confidence, Kay presents Nero to the others. He declares that he has a way to find the Stella Fragment easily. The three stand in the dim light of the lantern as Kay begins to explain his plan involving the mysterious little creature. Gale skeptically repeats Kay's plan: this little creature he's been taking care of is going to lead them to the Stella Fragment. Kay confidently confirms, saying he's sure Nero will find it in no time. Gale dismisses the idea as nonsense, arguing that if such a rare creature existed, he would definitely know about it. As they argue, Nero calmly sits nestled against Ellie. Tired of arguing, Kay decides it's faster to just give them a demonstration. He tells Nero it's time to go. Looking at Nero, who is still being held by Ellie, Kay gives him a command: let's show this idiot just how amazing you are. Nero lets out a determined squeak, ready for action. With a powerful leap, Nero springs from Ellie's grasp, launching into the air as if on command. Before their astonished eyes, Nero transforms into a glowing projectile of light and shoots off into the darkness, illuminating the path forward. Gale and Ellie are left speechless, their faces a mask of pure shock at the sight of Nero's transformation. Trusting the strange creature, the three of them follow the brilliant streak of light as Nero guides them through the dark, crumbling ruins. Still in disbelief, Gale mutters to himself, trying to process what he just saw. No way. A creature that follows people and has a special ability. He continues to voice his astonishment, wondering where Kay could have possibly found such a creature that he's never even heard of before. Nero finally comes to a stop, hovering in the air. Kay announces that Nero has found their target, the Stella Fragment. Nero lets out a confirmatory cue. Kay gives Nero a determined look and says, I'm counting on you. Nero's eyes narrow with equal resolve. Suddenly, Nero looks up as if sensing something. Its form stretches and it zips forward into the darkness. Kay watches, startled, realizing Nero must have found something. Nero's glowing form darts ahead, leading Kay down a narrow path between dilapidated walls. Kay's eyes follow Nero's path, a bead of sweat forming on his face as he confirms the direction they need to go. Nero leads them to a dark, foreboding passageway. Seeing how deep they've already gone, Kay wonders how much further they have to proceed. Gale smirks, taunting Kay for his hesitation and telling him to fall back if he's scared. Kay glares back, denying that he's afraid. With his resolve hardened, Kay declares, then we're going in. The three of them stand before the pitch-black entrance, with only Nero's small light to guide them. Without warning, a colossal metal foot smashes down right in front of them, shattering the stone floor. K's face contorts in shock and terror as he looks up at the immense figure that has just appeared. The entire group is frozen in place, staring at the giant robotic leg that has blocked their path. As Gale readies his weapon, K stares in disbelief, admitting that Nero had definitely found something, just not what they expected. A giant, archaic-looking robot looms over them, steam pouring from its exhaust pipes and its single eye glowing menacingly. What is this? They wonder in terror. K questions if it's a creature, but its metallic form suggests it's something else entirely. Suddenly, the robot begins to emit a scanning light, analyzing the newcomers before it. The scanner focuses on Ellie, identifying her unique color with the hex code #81CFF4. She looks on, bewildered. Next, the scanner moves to Gale, identifying his color with the hex code #7DA97C. K watches the process with dawning horror, realizing the robot is performing a hex code scan to check their colors. Finally, the bright line of the scanner passes over K, analyzing his own unique signature. The scan concludes on K, and on a dark, static-filled screen, a single identifier appears, number 000000, the hex code for pure black. The robot's glowing optic focuses intently on K. Having identified his forbidden color, it delivers a chilling verdict that designates him as a target for extermination, detected the color of the Black Witch. The robot's monotone voice declares K a threat and announces its intention to eliminate him. K stares back, his expression turning from shock to alarm. Wasting no time, the robot fires a powerful energy blast directly at K, who gets thrown back by the force as his companions cry out his name. K hits the ground hard, skidding across the floor as he curses the robot under his breath. Infuriated by the unprovoked attack, K glares at the machine, yelling, "Are you insane?" Attacking out of nowhere. As Ellie and Gale prepare for battle, K declares that since the robot decided to attack first, you'd better be ready to get smashed. With a furious battle cry, K charges forward and throws a powerful punch at the robot. K lands a direct hit on the robot's arm, but his punch does nothing against the hard metal surface. He looks down at his scraped and bruised fist in frustration, wondering why his opponent is so impossibly tough. The robot remains completely unfazed, its fist still clenched. K can only stare and wonder, seriously, what is this thing? Ellie joins the fray, unleashing a powerful slash of blue energy from her sword that strikes the robot's head, yet it has no effect. She and Gale launch a coordinated assault, their respective blue and green color powers slamming into the robot, but the attacks glance off its armor. Ellie looks on in dismay, realizing that even using her color power doesn't seem to leave a single scratch on the mechanical monstrosity. She theorizes that her powers aren't working correctly because their opponent isn't a living creature. Meanwhile, K spots a glass-like orb in the center of the robot's chest, containing a sloshing black liquid. He identifies it as a core and potential weak point that he needs to strike fast. The robot easily blocks an attack from Gale while simultaneously deflecting a blow from K. K manages to block one of the robot's heavy punches, creating a shockwave, but his arm is clearly outmatched. His eyes are wide with desperation and strain as he struggles against the robot's immense strength. Barely dodging another attack, K grunts in frustration, realizing that his normal attacks are completely useless and wondering what he should do. A look of grim realization dawns on his face. An idea strikes him: he can use the forbidden attack that coats his body in black, just like last time. He knows the technique consumes a massive amount of his color, so he decides to conserve energy by only coating his fist. Wisps of black energy begin to coalesce around his hand. With a surge of power, he completes the technique. Done. His fist is now completely shrouded in volatile black energy. K stands his ground, facing down the giant robot with his newly empowered fist ready to strike. With a determined gaze, he pulls back his arm, ready to unleash the full force of his forbidden power. He thrusts his fist forward, striking the robot's core with a massive, explosive impact. The devastating punch shatters the robot's core, sending its components flying. K stands victorious, his eyes glowing with the dark energy he just unleashed. The robot's severed head lies smoking on the ground, its light flickering out. The battle is over. K lets out a breath of relief, the black energy around his fist dissipating. Ellie and Gale can only stare at the wreckage in stunned silence. Looking at the defeated robot, K comments offhandedly that the thing was more annoying than he had expected. As he surveys the damage, something catches his eye, the robot's core, still intact and glowing amidst the rubble. He picks up the core, noting it looks different from the ones he usually sees. A sly grin spreads across his face as he thinks, Mari will like this if I take it to her. His companions, however, are not pleased. Gale and Ellie immediately confront him, demanding an explanation for the power he just used and questioning why he didn't use it sooner. K looks annoyed at their interrogation. K gives them a terse explanation: the technique drains so much color that he avoids using it unless absolutely necessary. As he speaks, a low rumbling sound echoes through the chamber. Startled by the noise, the three of them turn their attention toward the large doorway they had stopped at earlier. The stone door, which had been sealed shut, now stands open, revealing a wall of pure, impenetrable blackness. Did that door just open on its own? K wonders. Suddenly, Nero lets out an excited cry and, in its glowing form, zips straight towards and into the mysterious black doorway. K calls out, asking Nero what's wrong. The glowing creature hovers excitedly in front of the black void, as if beckoning them forward. K interprets Nero's excitement, asking, "There's something over there?" He stares into the void, which remains a silent, black sheet. He approaches the entrance cautiously, unable to see anything within the darkness. "Are you sure it's safe?" he asks Nero. His curiosity getting the better of him, he reaches out a hand towards the strange black surface, wondering if it's like the mysterious curtain he's encountered before. The instant his fingers make contact, the black portal erupts with shadowy tendrils, catching the entire group by surprise. They shout in alarm as the shadows wrap around them, pulling them in. "Why'd you touch that?" Gale yells at K, who can only warn everyone to be careful. Their screams echo as they are helplessly dragged into the pitch-black abyss. Now just white silhouettes floating in an endless void, one of them groans in pain, asking what they're supposed to do now. The world has lost its color. In a monochrome reality, the group panics, complaining about the disorienting darkness and the fall. Floating in the abyss, one of them reaches out a colorless hand, asking if everyone is okay, but gets only a confused grunt in response. Suddenly, Gale looks at his own body in horror. What? My color, he stammers, a dreadful realization dawning on him. He clutches his chest, his face a mask of pure terror as he shouts the terrible truth into the void: "My color is gone." All three of them are now colorless, powerless in the dark.